Welcome for week 2, day 3. Today we're talking about a very popular theme which every piano student likes very much. Piano fingering. Yeah, which finger do I put on which key? Yeah, I have to think this. Otherwise I cannot produce a note. Every little child, when it sees a piano, it will go with one finger and try to play every note and see what comes out of this machine there, this sound machine. Later it plays with two fingers, like 2 and 3, plays even thirds. And then next developing step is to play a third with 2 and 4 and leave the finger out, which leaves also the key out. And later you play thirds, with the fingers. So we need to develop fingering, and it's there are only very few publications about piano fingering. Beginning of last century, Tobias Mattei was a great teacher, published a little essay called The Principle of Fingerings. The last year of the last century, Uli Molsen wrote a little article about piano fingering. And well, I was thinking about this theme, and I published a great article in the Neue Musikzeitung, one of the two big musician magazines in Germany, about my fingering nomenclatura. So I found a way to describe fingering, all the different positions of the hand, what can happen in the hand, and found a way to put little additions to the numbers which usually are only put into the music sheets. For example, when the basis of all is the 5-finger position. You know, every finger has one white key. So I do this again. If you put the thumb on the C, every next finger gets the next key. So this is the 5-finger position, and I number the finger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the fingering position has 5 names: 1C, 2D, 3E, 4F, 5G. And it's like somebody having a first name and a middle name and the third name and 5 names before the last name is coming. And I call the position by the name with which the position appears first. So in the Haydn piece, we begin with a 1C, so I call this position 1C. Later, the position begins with 5F, so I call the position 5F. Now, in an example from the Menuet of Notenbüchlein für Anna Magdalena, there's an ending like this, and you can see that the hand is in the position 1G. These notes are played, and then you need an F sharp just once, and then go back to the position. So the second finger is playing the A before, and then he gets a permission to visit the neighbor for one time, and then go back home. I write this at number 2 with a little bracket around. The bracket means a single visit permit for a neighbor. So if a hand makes more than one visit, the finger makes more than one visit to a neighbor, then I put the number 2 in brackets and add a little line to the bracket. The little bracket with little line means multiple visits to the same neighbor are allowed. And like later in the piece of Haydn, which we are studying tomorrow, the thumb gets one in brackets with a little arrow. The little arrow means the one here is in the position 1F. Now he has to visit not only one neighbor but two neighbors, and several times. Now he visits E, now he visits D, then goes back home. Now he has to do at home, now he has to visit the neighbor, and now he visits the other neighbor. So this is just an example for the signs which appear, and in the piece of tomorrow there are no more difficult signs like these three. So we go through the piece now and see how the hand position can be understood. So important, we have, how many hand positions of this exist? You can put the thumb on each of the 7 notes. So this is position 1C, 2D, 3E, 4F, 5G. Now comes one key further, the position 1D, 1B, 2E, 3F, 4G, 5A. Then you go one further, you have the position 1E, 1E, 2F, 3G, 4A, 5B. Now you go one further, position 1F, 1F, 2G, 3A, 4B, 5C. One further, position 1G. It's 1G, 2A, 3B, 4C, 5D. One further, position 1A. 1A, 2B, 3C, 4D, 5E. Oh, that's a concentration. A, B, C, D, E. So that's like the alphabet. You see how the naming of the numbers, of the note names comes. A, B, C, D, E. In German, this is so stupid, they call this B, H, but whatever. In English it seems more logical. And the last of the 7 positions is 1A, 1B, 1B, 2C, 3D, 4E, 5F. And the next position is the same as the first one. So now we begin with the Haydn Paukenschlag. We begin with 1C. All fingers go, take one key each. It's in one position. Now we go to the next position, one left. Position is called 5F. I could play this with the thumb, but then how would I reach the G? Maybe with the left hand, but it's not very pianistic. So now I split the hand, I keep in this position here, and the second goes one visiting this neighbor 2 times, and the thumb is going to visit the G. Now the thumb goes back. So we are back to the 1C position from the 5F position. 1C again. And the fingers are here, and having a feeling that the 5th is here, you can then, inside the hand, you can find this distance to put the finger. Now press the 5F down, and now from here you go to 1C, and then the rest of the hand goes back into the 1C position. Now you keep in this position, and the 5th finger makes 2 times the C. The left hand takes over here. Now the right hand is again and still in the 1C position. Again 5F, splitting. And now again back to 1C. Exception. And now we have a chord. The left hand plays two notes which are in the same position, so it's easy to play 4-1. I always call the lower note first and then the other 4-1, and I play hit the keys with naming the last number. It's the same with the note names, D, G. And the right hand plays a chord, this one. How is this chord written? Basically I wrote a 5G, a 5 on the G. When you have more than one note at the same time, I write the number of the note which is looking from the middle of the body, which is on the outside. So the 5 on the G. Logically the 2 must play the D, and the thumb gets a permission to visit the neighbor B. So this chord is played like this. B, D, G, or 1, 2, 5. Now we go on the next part. 1D. So that's all in one position. Then we need the black key. Since the thumb is already on the D, I make a position change. Now 2 goes on D and is also responsible for D sharp. And we need the thumb on the C anyways. Now we go further here. Now I just make a jump to 1G, 3C. You may want to practice this jump back and forth. So then in the context it works very easy. That's it. I have practiced this. You might want to get your fingers sorted out. For me it's easy, of course. I've practiced it, but go here. Before playing, you make sure that you've understood what you're doing. Now the next position is a chord as well. It's the position 3C. 3C means all these keys, and the thumb is visiting the neighbor for more than one time. So it has bracket with a little line. The thumb plays the G, the neighbor note, for 3 times. And the rest of this phrase is all in the same position, 3C. We're still in the same position. And here we need a G, so we shift over 1 note. Oh, this is here. A change from 1 to 5. I recommend to make this practicing bracket. For a passage like this, you repeat, you look at the essence. This is a maybe difficult position change. These 3 notes before and the 2 notes after, and I make a non-stop movement. I repeat it all the way until it is totally secure. 3, 2, 1, 5, 3, 3, 2, 1, 5, 3, 3, 2, 1, 5, 3. So this goes on. The finger who has the D also has the D sharp. Now to A. New position for B. Now we have to go further here. We need the E. So I make 1 intermediate note, a 2 in brackets, and now 3 F. Oh, this is a whole scale. So middle note. Now the scale. For G1A, the thumb goes under, and the hand follows immediately. Now thumb, exception on G, then 4A, new position. New position again, 5C. and new position again, 5G. Now comes passage with several position change. So, how do we do this? We name position 3C, 3E. Oh, it's a D, I think. 3C, 3E, 3G, but this is an F sharp. And now 5C. 5C means automatically 2G. Now we go back to the position 1E. You can roll all these notes, then 2D, 2B, and 2. 2G. This repeats. And continues differently. So we arrive here. Then one exception, 3C. All these notes in the same position. 3G, just 2 notes in one position, then jump to 5G and 4B. That was fantastic. You might want to repeat this entire passage several times. So now 2G, the thumb exception. Now we change to 3, 3, 3 and make a little back forth movement. Left hand again. 3G change. This is still the same position. Now the second is making some visits at this neighbor. In this case I have written every note as a number in brackets. Oh, what's this? If you relate these chromatic notes, it shows what a fantastic humor Joseph Haydn had, like in all his symphonies. I arrive here with 3G, then we need a G sharp. So this is the position change to 4 G sharp. In this moment the hand goes back to the 4G position. And now the F is played by the third finger, so third one plays F sharp. The fourth one is responsible for G and G sharp, goes back to the G position, to E. Well, 1D is the same as 1D sharp. Then going back to D. So it's all based on the same position. If you understood this, you're not at all confused. You are secure and makes your performance free because you have really analyzed the fingering situation. Of course, you must practice the passage several times, but having understood the fingering, it's getting automatized very fast. Then 2 sharp, 2D sharp, 3G, 2C, 3. This passage is going up fast, so I try to find the most organic way to come up there. These notes are longer still. Now we go faster. So I 2, 3, 5, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the edge, sort of the skeleton of this passage. You play this in double notes. 2C, 1G, 3E, 1C, and 4G, 1 to E and 5 alone. And you will see that it's very little changing of position, so you can play this passage relatively sure. We go on like 5A. Now comes a series of chords. These three. Sounds difficult, but it's not. We are in the position 2G. The upper finger, the outside finger who marks a 5-finger position is 2, and the 5th finger is normally on the C, but he is visiting the neighbor D. So we play F, G, D, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5. Now the 5th finger goes back home and the thumb visits the neighbor. This is the wandering 6th. 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, but with other notes, and the thumb has a number 1 in brackets, but with a little arrow. He is going to visit the neighbor 2 times and the other neighbor another time. So 5th is visiting neighbor, 5th going back home, 1 visiting E neighbor and the other neighbor. You're still in the same position. Now you change from 2 to 5 with the same passage again. That's easy for you, I'm sure. Now we have a bit relaxed. 4F, 1C, 1C, 4F. 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3. The finger who has E also has E flat. Yes, now the theme again, like at the beginning. And then 3C. So the thumb visits the neighbor 2 times. Bracket with little line. Now we have defined and talked about every single finger position. You may change something, but it is already systematized. And like this, if you practice, you have already achieved half the practice. Going thoroughly into the fingering and being sure of every movement gives you the security to perform with freedom, because we are doing nothing else but automatic movements, and we have to get them repeated and conscious on this in the spirit, and the body will program it in the gyrus, and you will have it automatically in your body. Your kinesthetic sense is being programmed, so you can just release the music and let it flow. The flow later is practiced by naming the different rhythmic levels. That's the best secret for musicians. So this was the first lesson for fingering, piano fingering. And tomorrow we will do the left hand of this piece. Bye bye, see you.